Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the TV6 Digital Desk live stream. My name is Molly Birch, and I'll be taking you through a recap of today's headlines. This stream runs every night, starting at 8/7 Central Time from Sunday to Thursday. You can find us streaming on Facebook or YouTube, whichever platform you'd prefer. You can feel free to comment and ask any questions in the chat as you feel like it as well. I'll do my best to keep an eye on those comment sections and answer whatever questions you have and comments as we go and after the stream as well. With all of that business out of the way, let's take a look at our first story for tonight. We begin your TV6 Digital Desk live stream with breaking news tonight. President Joe Biden is dropping out of the race for president. He made the announcement earlier this afternoon that he will no longer seek re-election. Karen Kafa is in Washington with the latest.
President Joe Biden Sunday afternoon saying he's dropping out of the race for president, but will remain in office until the end of his term. The president posting a letter on X saying, quote, "I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term."
I think today we should focus on Joe Biden's incredible legacy of service to our nation, his selflessness, his accomplishments in his decades in the Senate.
In a separate post, he went on to say that he is endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee.
I fully support Kamala Harris. And in fact, she's been trained by the best. Joe Biden was a vice president himself, and so she probably had the best mentor.
The announcement following weeks of mounting concerns over Biden's stamina and age. Calls for him to depart the race came after a widely criticized debate performance hosted by CNN less than a month ago. The president said he will address the nation later this week. He's currently isolating at his home in Delaware after testing positive for COVID Wednesday, just before he was supposed to speak at an event in Las Vegas. The Republican nominee, former President Donald Trump, responding to the news on Truth Social, saying, quote, "Crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve and never was." It has been decades since a sitting president has decided not to seek re-election and drop out of the race. The last was Lyndon Johnson in 1968. At the White House, I'm Karen Kafa.
And as Biden announced his withdrawal from the 2024 presidential campaign today, Michigan leaders responded to the news, starting with Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. In a statement on her Facebook page, Governor Whitmer said President Biden is a great public servant who knows better than anyone what it takes to defeat Donald Trump. His remarkable work to lower prescription drug costs, fix the damn roads, bring supply chains home, address climate change, and ensure America's global leadership over decades will go down in history. My job in this election will remain the same, doing everything I can to elect Democrats and stop Donald Trump, a convicted felon whose agenda of raising families' costs, banning abortion nationwide, and abusing the power of the White House to settle his own scores is completely wrong for Michigan. And on the other side of the aisle, State Representative Jack Bergman said in a statement on his Facebook page, in part, Biden is clearly unfit for office and has been for quite some time. If he can't handle being a candidate, why would he be able to handle the daily rigors of presidency? He should resign immediately, and the American people should fire every single politician that has been gaslighting and lying to each of us about Biden's capability to lead our nation. Bergman also says we should, quote, reward this type of corruption with a resounding loss on Election Day in November. We have more information on the situation at uppermichigansource.com or the TV6 and Fox UP mobile news app. And Democrats are now left having to navigate this shift with just over 100 days until the November election. The Democratic National Convention will be held August 19th to August 22nd at the United Center in Chicago. President Biden has officially endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris for president. The Associated Press reports that current party rules do not permit Biden to pass his previously won delegates to another candidate. And politically, though, his endorsement is likely to be influential. AP says there are other unanswered questions about logistics, money, and political fallout, and we'll keep you updated on those as we learn more information. In our next story, the Delta County Airport in Escanaba was a waypoint for the 26th annual Experimental Aircraft Association Air Venture Cup race today. 85 pilots flew 400 nautical miles across the UP and parts of Wisconsin. They raced for the fastest time in their plane category for a trophy. Delta County Airport Manager Robert Ranstadler says it's an honor for the airport to be a waypoint.
Showing the community as a whole what the worth of the airport is, and this is just one of the great examples of how the airport itself can bring more exposure to what we're doing here in Delta County and Escanaba.
If I were to go
EAA judges waited at the airport to account for the planes. They also made sure no one cheated for faster times. One judge said the fastest planes could finish the race in under an hour. Pilots ended the race in Wausau, where it also began. That's in Wisconsin. And a patient who never got to thank emergency services for saving him in Crystal Falls finally greeted them in person. TV6's Julia Seitz spoke with the patient's family members about why this reunion is important.
Emergency personnel lined the Anderson ball field in Alpha not for an emergency, but for a surprise reunion with a patient. On July 22nd of last year, Stephen Gorman fell from a ladder while tackling a hornet's nest at a relative's home in Crystal Falls. Stephen's wife, Amy Gorman, planned the surprise to celebrate a miraculous recovery.
Remind us where we've come and to understand where it could have been, but having everyone here all together, just a reminder of who made this happen.
Crystal Falls Fire Department and Aspirus Medevac EMS were on the scene. Aspirus EMS Outreach Coordinator Amy Larson says the crews noted head injuries and possible neck and back injuries. They opted for a scene flight to Wausau Hospital.
The great outcomes that can come from our patient care, but for our communities. We want to make sure they know we're there and we're going to support them 100%.
Stevens says he has no memory of the accident, so he's happy to finally meet them in person.
Get that follow-up on our patients, and especially a patient like this with such a great outcome that could have been a very different outcome. We love to be able to reunite with them and see how well they're doing.
The family continued the reunion at Alpha Michigan Brewing Company for food and drinks. Amy says the brewery is one of Stephen's favorite spots and they have a camp close by. They also gave him a shirt which rates falling down a ladder a 1-star experience.
We're a very humorous family, so actually Steve's known for his dad jokes, so that's actually how we get through a lot of our troubled times.
Amy says emergency services don't get thanked enough. Julia Seitz, TV6 News, Alpha.
Thank you, Julia. And finally tonight on the TV6 Digital Desk live stream, families gathered at Marquette Maritime Museum to celebrate Lake Superior Day today. The annual event is celebrated on the third Sunday of July. It focuses on the importance of Lake Superior. People walked around booths and learned about the environment and conservation. Marquette Maritime Museum Director Hillary Billman hopes people have fun.
An opportunity to learn some things that maybe they didn't know, like what we can do to stop microplastics in the Great Lakes, and what can you do to stop harmful chemicals on the watershed.
Kids could touch live sea lampreys, which is an invasive species in the Great Lakes. Families had fun with craft activities and boat racing. They could cool down with an Italian ice from Becky's Roadside Refreshments as well. And that's all the stories we have for you tonight. I'll see you again tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. But first, you can find TV6's Mandy Koskela and Michael Sobek streaming from the TV6 Facebook page every weekday morning at 8:45 Eastern Time. They'll be recapping top headlines from the morning on their show, Beyond Your Morning News. Until next time, I'm Molly Birch, and thanks again for joining me live at the TV6 Digital Desk. Have a great rest of your night.